1, 2, 3. There we go.
So here we are at Vicism, a weekend-long festival celebrating the Vic Godard, who's the man himself. This has been a national tour, hasn't it? It's been
just Manchester, Newcastle and Glasgow. We don't really do national tours because
right,
got to get back to work. We're playing London next Friday, so that's the whole 4 gigs in all.
Oh, right, because I thought it was all connected.
With a bit of delivery in between.
Yeah, it's not postal delivery.
Yeah.
So you're still posting?
Yeah.
I should probably explain, because people probably aren't aware that this man is actually one of the greatest songwriters to come out of Britain in the last 30 years, but has been working as a postman for how long?
Since 1986.
1986?
Yeah.
Was that when your career kind of...
heated out. Yeah.
Because I should explain that you were, am I right in thinking you were subject originally from Malcolm McLaren's instigation?
Yeah.
Was he involved in that?
Yeah, he was looking for groups to go with. He told us that he couldn't really do a scene with only one group. He was looking for anyone who was interested in starting a group. And it didn't bother him that you couldn't play, so that's the only way we got on board. See, there was no way anyone else would have allowed us on a stage other than him, I don't think.
Well, I've heard rather differently, to be honest, because I mean, obviously a lot of people here are older, and some of them saw you supporting the Clash, I believe, in 1977. And I'm told you were rather upstage the Clash.
Yeah, but the thing was, we'd had a lot of time to practice. It was when Malcolm was coming to see us. It was must have been in August of '76, and that Clash tour wasn't until the spring of '77.
Right.
And although we were useless, we were all on the dole. So we actually practiced a lot more than we do now. So that made up for the fact that we couldn't play just by learning everything note for note. And the other thing is, when we started, we only did about 4 songs. And it was only expanded to 7 and then 10 when we got round to doing the White Riot tour. So we just concentrated on doing as much as we could without trying to really go too far.
But again, I think it's one thing that was just the actual quality of the songs, because I mean, you're really distinctive. There's really distinctive visions of the songs, and I think you were one of Britain's great angry young men. It was some of the most nihilistic but smartest songs to come out of punk. And I think I do prefer your first album to the Clash's first album, except I think it took 29 years for it to properly come out.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, a lot of our stuff was held back because we were in the same team as the Clash, and the management was all focused on getting them as big as they could get. And I think then, when the time came out to promoting my stuff, probably we'd already missed the boat of it, and punk had come and gone, and I really wanted to do something different, so it was like a transitional period.
I'd like to come on to that in a second, but again, we should go back to roots, and obviously one of the big things with punk was people redefining themselves, making new identities. So everyone chose bizarre names. Vic Godard, how did you come up with that?
Well, we used to, it's just a panic thing really, because it's a good story how I did come up with it, because when we went to do the gig at the punk festival, all the groups were on separate tables, and there was people from NME and Melody Maker going around interviewing all the groups, taking down all their names one by one, and started at the far end, and they were getting closer and closer to our table, and we said, you don't think they're going to interview us, do you? So we had to come up with names really quickly, because we were on the dole, we didn't want it to be known that we were in a group. So we just came up with Godard. I just said straight away, because we'd been to see one of his films the other night, and Rob Simmons and Myers just used the real names of 2 of television, just off the cuff, and Paul Packham, the drummer, just said Smith, just to remain a bit more anonymous.
And
so that was why that was.
So can I ask, is that the real reason why everybody in punk bands renamed themselves, to avoid the dole?
Probably a lot of it, because you have to be careful in those. Well, you still do.
You still do.
I'm lucky I'm a postman. They won't let me do anything.
Right, so you're saying that, just to go back to what you were saying, because after punk you obviously went on to do other things. You did a record, What's the Matter Boy, that I absolutely love. I think I could have discovered that when I was very young accidentally, and I love that album. How did that album come? Again, it's a very, I think it's a bit Post-punk's obviously a fascinating scene, a lot of variety, but that record is quite distinctive. I mean, how did you come up with that record?
Well, we already did a lot of the songs with the Subway set, but the group disbanded, and I was left like as a songwriter for Bernard Rhodes' groups. And I think the way that album came about was that all the people that were no longer in groups and weren't doing a lot, like Terry Chimes was one who was in the Clash but then was no longer. The Black Arrows had done a tour supporting Dexys Midnight Runners, the very first tour Dexys did, and they did a section on the Sex Pistols film, Great Rock and Roll Swindle, on roller skates.
Yes, I do. Hey.
But Bernie could never really promote them because all the gigs he was doing were all sort of punk gigs, and they weren't really, he didn't think the audience could take them, so he sort of put them together with rhythm section made up of Terry Chimes and his brother, who works at the Ford plant in Dagenham, so that was awkward. And we put down the backing, and then the Black Arabs came in and did all the percussion and the other instruments, after we'd already put the backing down. And the songs had just been rearranged to cater to the fact that it was no longer a punk band, it was who it was on the record, so that's how that came about, really.
I remember always looking at the cover. I remember pick up the cover, and especially the back cover. It's like kind of obviously playing kind of sort of Francophile ideas and like existentialism, totally parodying as well. It's just a really nice album.
Bernie Rhodes, who was really into the artwork, and he had his hand of Willie artwork in those days. He was like an avid collector of magazines. So he had one room, he was just stacked up to the ceiling in magazines that he used to cut out little bits for his artwork.
No, I just wanted to kind of comment in.
It's a bit noisy.
I just wanted to kind of comment on you. I mean, you're a bit of a Francophile. You got an interest in these.
Yeah. I became a Francophile at school. I went to grammar school, and we had a really good French teacher, Mr. McLaren, funny enough his name was, and he used to read us at the end of term, when you'd done like all the tests and all that, and you had like a couple of weeks to the end of term, he always used to read us these short stories by Maupassant. I was really got into them in about 50 years.
Oh no!
What a scene from Batman.
No.
The Riddler.
That could have chopped us in half,
Yeah, we could have got a snuff movie out of this. That'd be a good story for me. Vic Godard.
Yeah, that could be a subject of another song. Hey, listen, I think the sound on this is not particularly brilliant, but again, it's impossible to record any more sound.
If we could close enough to maybe 5 more minutes.